Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's my pleasure to be here with my friend Jason Ford. We're going to talk about wholesaling arbitrage. We're going to get into his business and how he does things for a long time, and about how I've done a similar business but in a different way. And we've got an exciting project that we're doing together. So we're going to go through some things, maybe talk about mindset. Jason, thanks for coming back and sitting down with us. We just did a YouTube live, and so now this is our second time we're chatting in a couple of weeks, and I'm glad to be talking with you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to be able to hang out with Robbie Krager, and yesterday we got to spend some time together going around and looking at some projects, and I'm excited to be here today. So let's get right into it and talk about some stuff. I'm excited.
Yeah, we do that looking at properties all the time. I know you do as well.
Yeah.
And so that's right. So now your business is a wholesale business.
Right.
And I want you to kind of explain what that means, and then let's dive into it. And I'll then jump in about, what my business was, because I'm a little bit different side of it. And so we'll have a little different perspective.
Right. So for many years we were just traditional flippers. We would buy houses, fix them up, and resell them. And as we seen the market kind of doing some funny things, we thought, well, maybe we should get a little more into wholesaling. And wholesaling is basically the idea of being able to sell a property and make a fee on it without actually owning it. So we take the property, we get it under contract with the seller, and then we market that contract to our buyers. And really our process is more about getting it through that system as quickly as possible as we can. So how quickly can we get a property, and how quickly can we dispossess or get rid of a property, and we make the spread in between. Essentially, we're kind of an arbitrage between an inefficient market is the best way to describe it. So we kind of help bridge buyers and sellers in tough situations. And we're dealing with foreclosures, you're dealing with hoarders, you're dealing with divorces, crazy things.
Yeah, you invite problems though, and your company is Property Problem Solvers. So in the name, you're inviting people to bring you their problems.
Yeah. And
your business, you spend a lot of time talking to sellers who have problems. I mean, you spend a lot of money to advertise.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually it's a little bit of a line that I stole from a guy named Bob Romito. Bob is the guy who convinced the guy who started Homevestors to start Homevestors. So in a sense, 30, 40 years ago, he kind of started the business of flipping in a grand scale. And Bob and I kind of say it like this, is that we spend a lot of money advertising so that we attract people who have pain and problems, and then we try to fix those pain and problems, and sometimes that means we buy their house. Right, so we try to help them through the problem, and then simultaneously sometimes we're able to buy their house, and that's the solution to the problem. So.
Yeah, and so you actually get these people, they call in, they tell you, I need to sell my house and it's beautiful and I can't do it. I can't understand why the real estate agents can't sell it. And you've got to Tony Robbins them a bit, get to the bottom of it, figure out why they can't sell their house, and then figure out how to fix their problems, right?
Sure.
You were telling me a story about a person where you made $40,000 and you worried about whether. Can you talk about that again?
Yeah. So we were talking before we started about, we've been doing this for a while now, and but early on, I think this maybe I've even been in this first or second month. My first month in the business, I got 8 deals. The second month, I got 7 or 8 deals. And we were getting some of these deals closed, and one of them was a house in Alpharetta, Georgia. I'll never forget it. It was beautiful when you came up to the house, but when we went inside, literally they had ripped out the kitchen. There's crazy stuff going on everywhere you look. Her son was kind of standing up on a balcony, looking down at me. I didn't know if he's gonna shoot me or what he's gonna do. It was super weird. She says she's gonna sign the first day, then she says no. Then she calls me up again. I'm in her driveway, and she's like, just kidding, no again. And finally, 3 weeks later, she signs. And that was kind of some of the tough part of it, but ultimately, we put that property on the market. We made a $40,000 spread in about a 2-week time period. And I did. I kind of had I kind of had an ethical dilemma. Did I just take $40,000 from somebody that was in pain and going through a problem, and I just finesse them out of their money or something? And what I realized in this specific situation is that there was not a chance that she was going to be able to find the buyer that I found. There's no way. I mean, if she she was 2 weeks away from foreclosure. If she had been able to figure out this solution before me, she would have sold it a long time ago. And my company helped her to not get her credit demolished. She had a bunch of money to go put down on the next place that she was able to qualify for because her credit wasn't demolished. We helped her move. We did all kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, I realized we weren't doing anything wrong at all. In fact, we were doing something that was a great service to her. So
I love that story because I agree. You provided a massive service for her.
Right.
And you got her some money. You got her on her way. My business, and this is a good segue, as you in that story, she's 2 weeks from foreclosure.
Yeah.
Now, I've bought thousands of houses at the foreclosure sale.
Right.
I don't ever speak to sellers. I don't solve people's problems. And in fact, once it goes through the foreclosure sale, and that's what would have happened to her, and I buy that house,
yeah,
the sheriff is on the way.
Right.
It's done. It's over. There is no
Right.
stepping it back, and there's no money coming to them unless there's an overage.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I think your business model is amazing, and you do provide a great service to people. For me, it's been very difficult, or I chose a long time ago not to put myself in those positions and take on those problems.
Yeah.
I just went for the low-hanging fruit and bought at the foreclosure sale. So I did things a little bit different.
Right.
Of course, there were times we've talked to sellers and stuff like that. But anytime someone says, and we get this a lot, where they're like, oh, this guy's just preying on this lady. It's not that. She was in a position that was impossible for her.
Yeah.
She had tried everything she could think of. She's 2 weeks away from losing everything, and you come in and really save the day. I call it real estate superheroes, right?
Yeah.
To the rescue. And I think that this 2023, it's Jason Ford's time to step up and shine, right? Like this
Right.
is, we're going into a year where it's finally going to be a buyer's market, and it hasn't been that way in most markets in the U.S. up until right now. So anybody could put something on the market and it would get multiple offers over
Sure.
asking price, and that's easy and great. But now, as they can't sell it,
Yeah.
there's going to be more and more people who are in trouble.
And we're starting to already see that. I
Yeah.
mean,
It happens
tons
quickly.
More.
It
yeah,
happens
tons
quickly.
more people calling us now than we're calling us at the end of last year already. I mean, just even in the last couple of weeks, we've seen an uptick in leads coming in. So yeah, it's already happening. We have a very good system. In fact, we're only specifically in Georgia, but I would say we have the absolute best dispo system in Georgia. Nobody can beat us. We had a guy who came from Zillow Offers and worked for us for a period of time, and he told me hands down that you guys have better technology than Zillow had.
Wow.
So like we think that we can absolutely crush it when it comes to any deal that's like a hard to sell deal. You know, the price has to be right. We have to be able to get it in front of the right people, and you know, you have to allow us access to your property and things like that. But you know, we're bulldogs about getting things sold.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what technology does for us, right? It's
Yeah.
supposed to make things easier.
It's
So
all
that's-
about the opportunity, though. It's not about the house. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not selling to end buyers. I'm not a realtor. You're not going to move into my house. You know, it's about the opportunity and how well can I lay out that opportunity for you so you understand it's not about 123 Main Street. It's about this much cash flow and this much possible appreciation and, you know, these tax benefits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we sell.
When you say that it's about the opportunity, it makes me think of something that I've told friends for the last 25 years. That they know that I'm in real estate. They know that I buy a lot of real estate. And inevitably they'll say, hey, you want to buy my house? And my always response is, you don't want to sell me your house.
100%.
You definitely do not want, and no, I can't
day
buy
you
your
have to
house.
call me,
You do
it's
not
not a
want
good
to
day.
sell
Yeah.
me your house because I'm buying your house with meat on the bone. And you know, unless you have some serious pain, I'm not your buyer.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I've heard you say too, there's 5% or so of the houses that are out there that Jason Ford or Robbie Krager are going to end up buying.
The market's
somebody like
moving this way. We're looking for the people that are swimming the other direction. That's,
Yeah.
You know, I once had a girl who worked for me, and she said, Jason, I hate to say this, she was a great lady, and she said, I just wish there was more people with pain. I said, Katie, there's tons of people with pain. We just got to be better at getting in front of them and solving their problem. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
and
it. There's tons of people with pain.
So your business model, you spend a ton of money to find those people with
Yes.
pain, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that if you don't mind.
Sure.
You want to run it through the numbers, because I think we're telling people often, hey, you can do it. You don't need money. I try to be very upbeat on the channel. I try and
Right.
encourage people to do things, but I always add, it takes hard work.
Yeah.
It takes lots of effort. And I think running a business like yours, let's talk about, you know, what's the investment that goes into it so that you can contract a house and sell it and never put your money in it, how much money do you spend on advertising to find those people?
Yeah, so we keep pretty tight metrics on this, and it's different for different types of lead sources, obviously, but we're somewhere around $7,000 in advertisement acquisition costs. So it costs us about $7,000 to buy a house.
Yeah.
Now, it's the cost of the advertisement. It's also like, how good are your salespeople? How good are they following up? How good is your transaction team at getting things closed? How good are you at actually selling the deal once we've got it? So there's a lot of factors that go into that, and we talk about that when we talk about like the funnel, pushing things all the way through without having holes in the funnel. But that's ultimately our goal, is to get that number as low as possible. When I started with, several years ago, I was with Homevestors, and my number was $3,000. And you can tell because of the market, and also because of the competition, it's gone way up. One of the exciting things about a market that may be receding for us is that it kind of separates the wheat and the chaff.
Yeah, your cost of acquisition probably goes down.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would think it goes down. There will be more people that have pain,
yes,
and they're gonna be calling those flyers that you send out, or answering those calls that
yes,
you do. I guess there's several ways that you get these leads, but
yeah,
I think as more people get pain. So I know you and I have both talked about, and I'm getting a little bit off subject, but buying subject to is something that I'm going to concentrate on in 2023.
Absolutely.
You told me yesterday you're closing a sub 2 deal and you're going to try and buy many more of these.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about why.
Yeah, so it's a perfect storm for this. So you've got a period of a couple of years where we had really fantastic interest rates. Interest rates lower than I've ever seen in my entire life. Mm-hmm. And now you've got a time that people are losing their jobs, there's layoffs going on, there's tightening in the markets, and people aren't able to sell their houses as easy as they were a couple months ago. When people run into problems now, if you had gone back 3 or 4 years and you had said to me, Jason, I'm in a tight situation. I just bought this house a year ago. I paid $100,000 for it. I've only got $2,000 in equity. Robbie, I'm sorry, man. There's nothing I can do. There's just nothing I can do for you at all.
Yep.
So one of the things that I try to do as the CEO of my company is try to always create as many possible exits out of a situation to make it profitable as possible. And so one of the exits that we've really been working on lately and been recruiting our sales team to draw in more people for is, like you said, sub 2s and wraps. So because people were in a situation a couple years ago of getting 2.5% loans, 3% loans, and now a lot of those same people, in fact, I don't know if this is true, but I heard a statistic the other day that said like 40% of the outstanding loans right now are at below 3% or below 4%, some really big number.
Wow.
Because of all the refis and everything. And so because of that, now a lot of those people get into trouble, and we go, hey, 4 years ago, if you were in this situation, we couldn't have helped you. But now we can take your loan, we can wrap that loan to another buyer, we can take a spread on the front, spread on the back, take an arbitrage of the percentage in the middle, and make money on deals that we would have ordinarily not been able to make money on.
And so you're still going to wholesale them?
Absolutely.
You're not
Absolutely.
planning to do the buy and hold. You're
No.
just going to wholesale them and take.
Well, I'm going to do a little bit of both, because honestly, in the last 5 years, we've done 600 flips.
Yeah.
And if I had just held on 300 of them, I'd probably be worth $50 million today more than I did.
It only gets worse. It gets worse and worse as you get older. And
Oh
as
my
you
God.
do more, I look back now and I say, man, I bought and sold 3,000 homes. Why didn't I keep X amount a year? Why didn't I keep 1,000 of them?
Yeah.
1,000's a huge number, but obviously if I did, I'd be. And I could have kept more, right?
Yeah.
I didn't keep any for the first
Well, I'll tell
10
you.
years I was in business. I just bought and sold everything as fast as I could.
I think the perfect storm is that you've got a sub 2 situation where you've got a lot of people with very low interest loans. Those same people are going to be moving in a time period where they have a financial crunch, and so it's going to reduce our cost per acquisition. And we're going to take those loans and then roll those with our terms on top of them to other people. It's a low risk way to do it. It's a way that we can collect money over time. We can make money on the front end and on the back end. But the answer is both, I think.
Yeah.
I think you need both. We want to build out 50 of those in the next year, but we also want to do 50 rentals as well. So you need to have something, because I'm not going to do this thing again where I come and sit at your podcast in 5 years and I go, yeah, I flipped 300 more houses and I don't own any of them. And, and now they're worth twice as much as when I sold them. Thanks a lot.
And I would tell you right now that if I was in your market in Georgia and you found these sub 2 deals that you wanted to wholesale me, I'm going to buy as many of them as I can. So that is something I'm going to focus on. And I've already told wholesalers in Florida, call me with all the sub 2 deals. And I think there is a huge arbitrage there, right?
Yeah.
So the rents have continued to rise. And when people get in trouble, so maybe they have lost the job and the house needs some little fixes to get on the market and the market's kind of going down, you come in, lock it up with the sub 2 deal, flip it to me.
Yeah.
I'm turning it into a rental property,
Yep.
and I'm going to make a spread on the spread, right? Like,
Sure.
so I give you a little bit of money, and maybe I'm paying you something monthly, but I'm also going to have a little equity, and I'm going to have a little bit of juice coming from the rents that I can charge.
Yeah.
And so our business is property management business and owning stuff, and I encourage people to own stuff for a really long time.
Yeah.
This is one of the ways that I plan to own some stuff at the end of 2023,
Yeah.
while I'm still going to buy and sell some things that I'll pay cash for, or that I'll wholesale.
Sure.
But it's probably a good idea for you to keep more of them than you're thinking about keeping.
Yeah, it probably is. I mean, ultimately, when you've got you got that many houses going through, you got to hold on to some of them. I'll just tell you a quick story. There's a house that I bought that I've always bought houses with the intention of making money on them. I bought one house because I fell in love with it. I know you've heard this story, so I fell in love with this house. It's absolutely amazing, and but because of the circumstances of my life, I had to sell it about a year later. I mean, I didn't have to sell it, but I did. And I sold it. I basically broke even. And like 3 years later now, 1, 2, 3, it's worth like almost double what I paid
double what
for
you
it.
paid and
Yeah.
you held on
If
to
I
it.
had just literally taken that house, as beautiful it was, and just boarded it up and forgot about it for 3 years, I would have made like a ton of money. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
So
for the last 3 or 4 years, that's literally been a viable way to invest in things, was just to buy real estate, do nothing to fix it at all,
Yeah.
and wait 4 years and you double your money.
yeah,
That's going to change right now.
Of course.
Right? But then it's going to go down, and once we get towards the bottom, if we can figure that out, it'll be time to buy everything and hold on for your life as it comes back, right?
Yes.
So out of every bad market is usually a nice recovery. And so I think it's always safe to buy the great deals, and
Right.
we're going to continue to buy. This year we're going to concentrate on some flips. We're going to buy some things to fix up and sell as the market is still maybe going down, and you have to adjust your buy box a little bit. And hopefully 18 months from now, we're going to be buying again to hold on forever.
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff I bought in 2012 will hold forever. Some of the stuff we're going to buy in 2025, we're going to hold on forever. And maybe I'm
Right.
off on the year. Maybe it's 2024, maybe it's 2027.
Sure.
I don't know. But there will come a day again where we're just going to be buying stuff to keep forever.
right.
So
Absolutely. And I mean, that absolutely makes sense. It's like if 100 years ago, if you had an opportunity to buy some land in Manhattan,
Yeah.
like how much would you sell it for? Well, the answer is you wouldn't sell
you
it.
couldn't sell it.
No, you wouldn't sell it. You would take loans against it, you would lease it, you would do all those things, but you would hold it forever.
Yeah.
It's like generational wealth.
Yeah, and
So,
generational wealth comes through real estate. I mean, so really wealthy people get wealthy one of two ways. They do real estate, they invest something, or own a business. I guess 3 ways.
right.
But everybody who gets wealthy ends up keeping their money in real
real
estate,
estate.
right? Like, so that's,
Right.
I submit that a balanced portfolio of safe investments is like 70 or 80% real estate and,
Right.
and 20, 25% whatever else you want to do. But the reason I think that is that because over time, real estate always goes up. Like
Sure.
it doesn't, it could go down for a period of time, but it never goes to zero.
Sure.
And it will always come back up. Where the stock market, you could have $1 million in your 401k today,
Zero.
$500,000 tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if you bought the wrong stuff, it's never going to come back, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you bought $1 million house today and it goes to $500,000 tomorrow, which it won't do,
Right.
eventually it goes back up and past $1 million.
Sure.
And all you have to do is hold on to the asset.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I was just thinking about a neighbor. There's a neighborhood in Atlanta called Virginia Highlands. It's very well known by people there, and nice place. Homes there, you're going to start in like maybe 800K range for a nice home there. But there was a time, probably 40 years ago, that those houses sold for $30,000.
Unbelievable.
And, I mean, if you just think about it, those people could have just bought it $30,000, lived there, raised their kids there, got the functionality out of that house for 40 years, and then taken that money and taken $800,000 and retired off of it
Yeah.
or whatever for just owning a house.
Yeah.
That's all they did.
And if they're like you, they could have done it a whole bunch of times,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you have a reason to believe that 20 years from now, your net worth, whatever it is today, and I suspect you do pretty well. If you can do what you do and stay alive and hold on to some real estate,
yes,
you're going to be worth a shitload of money one day, right?
10x easy. Yeah, absolutely.
Easy.
Yeah,
easy expected. So I love real estate, obviously, and I love buying and owning real estate for really, really long periods of time. I think that is a surefire way to have a home run every time. And obviously we can't buy and keep everything, but having that as part of your strategy. So as a wholesaler, and I tell people this, if you buy 3, sell 2 and keep 1,
right,
that would be amazing, right? Maybe it's you need to buy 100 and keep 3 and sell 97. I don't know, but just I know that in my life I look back on the thousands that I didn't keep. Yeah. And it crushes me when I look. I drive by a house and I go, God, I had this at whatever I bought it for $30,000 years ago, and now it's $300,000. Why didn't I just keep that one? I knew it was a good one too.
On the other hand, though, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, you were talking about expenses and building a business and things like that before. It's not like I took that money and bought spaghetti noodles with it. I mean, I wasted some money because I made mistakes. I made bad decisions and I hired the wrong person. That cost money. I mean, that money all went somewhere, right? And ultimately, you could say it went to my education eventually and what I'm doing. So even though I didn't do the right thing, now today I know, okay, 5 years from now, I'm the fool if I look back and I didn't do it now, because I've got. Also, the other thing is, I think that was important for me is I wanted to build the machine that could build the machine. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? I wanted to build a structure of something that not only helped the customers that we were dealing with, but it gave financial opportunity to the people who worked with me, and also it was the machine that could help me to be able to invest in bigger projects down the road. Of course,
no doubt. And I have the same kind of thoughts. I'm a little older than you, so I'm literally looking back and going, I don't, like you said, I can look back now 10 years and say, okay, I did it right for the last 10 years. But for the first 12 years, not that I did it wrong. I lived a great life, right? I raised my kids and we traveled and we paid for college and we had nice things and nice houses, and I helped people along the way. So I had a really good life. Right. I just wish, looking back, that I'd started a little earlier saving. And so part of the idea of this YouTube channel is to encourage people to learn from my mistakes, if you want to call them mistakes, but just learn from. I think the best
educational experiences.
Yeah, the best advice I ever got was a guy named Pete Fortunato, who many real estate investors know. And Pete, when he told me this, I was just starting out. He seemed like he was old then, and the guy's still around doing it. Right. He said he had made a mistake one time. And I said, what was that, Pete? He said, well, I sold a property. And other than that, according to Pete, he really never sells. He just buys and holds forever and ever and ever. Yeah. And turns out, the guy's pretty brilliant. He's probably going to die with $100 million in the bank, net worth or something. It's I don't know. I just I love the experiences that we pick up along the way, and to be able to share them with people. That's why we do this, right? So, absolutely. So,
Well, I mean, I was hanging out with you yesterday. We're going around looking at properties, and we're all in these crazy things. But I don't know, maybe it did to you, but it never felt like work. I mean, I actually kind of like it. I'm trying to be creative and think, what could you do with this room? And, I mean, I don't know, maybe that sounds corny. Some of it seems like work. Sometimes it's like, I want to pull my hair out, I'm like, what is going on? Monday is here, all the problems hit Monday morning at 9 o'clock, right? So, yeah, of course there's problems, but some of it's very enjoyable as well.
Oh, yeah. I think at this point, I have a better work ethic, but I jump out of bed in the morning, really. The sun comes up early, I jump out of bed, I'm excited to go do what I do, and I shoot videos along the way sometimes, but I'm looking at lots and lots of real estate, and that's what I like. I like to even figure out, we were at a house yesterday that was just awful. But I'm still trying to figure out, how the hell could somebody make money on this? What could we do, right? This thing's really beyond repair. Right. And when I'm saying that means that it's been beyond repair for 10 years. Because there's been a long time, most people would say, tear that down. And I try and save everything, but I have fun thinking it through.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely, and I think that really comes into being able to open your mind to certain situations and being able to look for those different opportunities. I mean, I was sitting here about to say it's kind of like having hustle in your blood, like some people are deal makers and some people that's not their thing. Like some people know how to look at a situation and figure it out. And I think that's an important skill in this business as well. It's just, it's not just talking to sellers, it's not just learning a contract or whatever. Like, can you look at this and see how you can come out on the upside on this? What is the path to make that happen? Yeah. And that's a skill. I mean, it's just like working out. Like every time you do it, you get a little stronger and you learn a little more and you find out a few more strategies. The other day I had somebody tell me, they were like, how long did it take you to learn, everything about real estate? And I said, well, I don't know. I'll let you know when that happens, right? I learn something like every day. I learn something every week for sure. Something big every week,
I love what you just said. And that sort of leads me into my next set of questions, which is around mindset. And why it jumps me to that is that I was thinking yesterday how much I enjoy being around other people that are doing similar stuff, that have a different thought on it. And so I purposely put myself in positions where I'm with people who are smarter than me and who have done things differently. And I'm asking them, I mean, yesterday I was grilling you. How much you spending on advertising? How are you doing this? How do you do that? Like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff that you do, and you do really good with it. So my mindset on that is that I can glean some things from talking to people who have different experiences from me. And while we're in similar businesses and have both been successful, we do things pretty drastically different, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so hopefully you feel the same way, but that's part of my mindset, and that's why I love having guys like you come around, and why I like being able to talk to Don about production and just learn this different stuff. That this isn't natural. This isn't our
I actually learned something a couple of years ago that I think may be one of the coolest things that I've learned in a long time, and it's that. Okay, and the way it happened was, I remember specifically when it happened. I'd been doing this for maybe a year or so, but I've been around real estate my whole life. I've heard real estate terms and stuff, so I mean, I'm pretty familiar with it. And some title attorney is just rattling off, and especially back a couple years ago, I used to not be so good when it came to probate, and they start talking about these family trees, and there's this grandma and her aunt's cousin does this, and I'm just like, oh my God, can somebody draw me a map or something? I don't know where we're at. I know you've only been talking for 3 seconds, but I'm lost already, okay? And so it actually started in one of those conversations, and I think the natural inclination in people, I know it was in me, is that when we're with somebody and they start talking about something, and maybe, you understand what they're saying, right? But they go over your head a little bit with a couple of sentences, or you don't quite follow one point that they were trying to make. Most of us just kind of smile and nod and keep going, right?
Yeah.
And I would do that too. And I think it's a pride thing. Like, you don't want to look stupid, especially if it's a person that you respect and you like want them to feel good about you. You don't want to like be like, duh, right? So, but I was talking to this person that was an attorney, and it was important because I needed to understand this to be able to get this deal done. And I said, Marcia, I'm sorry, but like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Talk to me like I'm a third grader.
And I literally said that. I was like, please talk to me like I'm a child. I said, I don't mean it in an insulting way towards myself, like I'm smart, but talk to me like I'm a child, because honest to God, you're so far off, like I don't know where to even try to catch up to you. And you know what she did? She said, Jason, you are such an idiot. No, she didn't say that at all. She actually stopped. I tricked you. He's like, what? That's not where I thought it was going.
Damn.
No, she didn't say I was an idiot at all. That's what we think people are going to say. Right. That's what our like stinking head brain crap tells us, is like if we appear like maybe we don't know something, somebody's going to slam us in the head. No, she was like extremely nice about it. She's like, I'm sorry. Let me say it in this way. And she dumbed it all the way down. I'm like, thank you. Now I got it. And I learned from that anytime I'm listening to somebody, and I'll probably do it to you at some point, I'll be like, Robert, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I mean, like, I'm not trying to be funny. Like, I just like, can you help me understand that? And I've done it thousands of times now. I can't remember any time where somebody ridiculed me or thought bad about me. They actually, it built rapport, because they're like, this person actually wants to just not glaze it over.
Right. They want to learn.
Yeah, they want to understand.
And it is difficult, right? Like, say, I completely resonates with me. Been there, done that. A lot of times you're meeting new people and they're talking with acronyms, or they do the the ABC this and the DEF that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you gotta define each of these for me.
Right.
I don't follow you, so I completely get it. I do think that
Make sure you get the DD before the end of the EMD, because our MAO and ARV aren't going to work if you don't do that.
Exactly, and someone who doesn't know real estate wouldn't know any of that.
Right.
Right.
It's very easy to talk over.
It really is.
So we were kind of talking about, beginning to talk about mindset and things like that, and mindset's really important. I did amazing things with home investors and being able to buy a lot of houses, but previous to that, I really didn't have a lot of sales experience, and I didn't know if I could do it. I actually have this belief that we should constantly and never-ending try to improve ourselves. So every day I'm trying to learn something.
I love that.
And
That's great.
I mean, every day I want to be a little smarter on something, like grow. When you meet me 10 years from now, I want to be a better person. You go, wow, that guy's a lot cooler than when I first met him. That's what I'm going for. So, I was constantly trying to do this, and I've realized, this is the way I want to go with the real estate stuff, but I don't have any experience doing this. And, it was all head trash. It was all just stuff in my head saying, well, you've never done sales. Well, you've never flipped houses. Well, you've never done this. You've never done that. And I had a really cool opportunity to just go out and ride around with a guy in Houston, Texas, who had become a friend of mine. His name was Adam. And Adam was already doing this, and he was starting to pick up some momentum. And I'm like, man, I was at the point where I had done a couple of deals, but I wanted to quit. So this just isn't for me. I'm just going to go back to this appraisal thing. At least I can make money doing that, even though I hate it. I can do it. And but I went out and I rode around with him, and I found he wasn't doing anything magical. He's just going on more appointments than me. It's oh, I can go on more appointments. I can spend a little more in advertising. I can do that. And it came back, and it clicked, because I realized all that stuff was just stuff in my head, and it didn't have anything to do with reality. And I would say that probably 90% of your problem, if you're dealing with some kind of emotion about that, it's just some kind of crap in your head. You're going to screw up. Robbie screwed up. I screw up all the time. You're going to screw up. You just got to push through it and just do it. And next time you're not going to make that same mistake, and you're going to get a little better and a little better. Just never ever quit, and just keep going. And I think in with the constant and never-ending improvement that I talk about is also constantly training my brain to step up a level. Okay, so here's where I'm getting at. There's a thing that one of my mentors says, that basically the strongest thing in human psychology is whatever we believe about ourselves, that's how we're going to act. If you believe you're an athlete, if you define yourself as an athlete, when you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm an athletic kind of dude. You act different than a person who identifies themselves as a couch potato, or identifies themselves as, whatever. For many, many years, basically my whole life, I said to myself, in the back of my head, we all have that little voice, I said to myself, I'm not athletic. I've always, not when I was a kid, but my adult life, I always had a little bit of chub on me. I'm not really that great of a runner. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not whatever. And then right before COVID happened, I just said, screw all that. I'm not going to live like that anymore. I hired a personal trainer. I dropped 50 pounds. I caught footballs for the first time in my life. I threw footballs for the first time in my life. I can throw a perfect spiral now. I am an athlete, right?
That's
I leveled that thing up, okay?
Right.
But so now I act differently than when I didn't feel in that manner. And so the strongest thing in human psychology is that you're going to act based on what level you feel you're at. So here's just kind of a corny little example. If you think about a thermostat, set it to 72 degrees. And, if it gets to be to 80, 90 degrees, what's going to happen? Air conditioning comes on. Brings you back down, right? If it's at 72 degrees and it gets colder, it gets down to 60, 50 degrees, what's going to happen? The heat's going to kick on. Well, not in Puerto Rico, but they don't have heaters here. I did that when I first got here. I was like, where's your HVAC system? They said, what the heck is that?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, we don't have no heat around here. But yeah, so it'll bring you back up. And so think about this as your life, right? So you believe you're this type of person, whatever that is. You believe you're capable of X amount of money, like for a long time, I remember when I was in my early 20s, like if I could just make $100 grand, that's like, but I wasn't I didn't believe I was $100 grand guy yet.
Yeah.
When I believed I was $100 grand guy, then I could look a little further and be like, what if I was $1 million guy, right? But you have to level up that thought. So here's what happens. You believe you're at 72 degrees, right? And then you have some things happen in your life and you start to do well. And you're like, oh man, things are really taking off. I just got an Airbnb and this is happening and this is happening. Your mind will actually turn on that air condition and it'll bring you back down to 72. It'll say, hey, you're not an 80 kind of guy.
Don't get out of your league. Or
don't change lanes on us,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, nope, you're a 72 kind of guy. Remember that same thing happens on the other direction. You say, hey, you know what? I'm normally a 72 kind of guy, but I'm slacking. Things are falling off. I've had some problems in my business, whatever. And the heat kicks on and goes, no, you're a 72 guy. And you kick it back up. So if you want to consistently level up, you have to be constantly retraining your brain that you're like, I'm already at that next level. I was with somebody the other night and they said, I'm a billionaire, I just don't have my money yet.
Good for them.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to get there.
They're on their way.
Yeah, they're on their way.
Yeah.
I've told people for years, don't put yourself in a box or don't tell the world what you want your box to be because you'll get there and then you might be sorry. For me, it was $250,000.
Yeah.
I met my wife, and I've told this story before, and we go through, her dad makes X, my dad makes Y. I think I'm middle class.
Yeah.
She basically said I'm not middle class. She said, you're poor.
Right.
She didn't say it in so many
Right.
words, but she's like, no, I'm middle class, and it was drastically different.
Yeah.
But I immediately latched on to, that's the life I need to provide.
Yeah.
And I just wish she had said that X was up there. Because had she done it,
Yeah.
I'd have jumped up there.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody, and again, I try to be very encouraging. I think mindset is super powerful.
Sure.
Build your box really big.
Yeah.
Like, take what you think you want, then multiply it times 5 or 10,
Yes.
and start telling yourself that. Start telling yourself you're a billionaire today. Yeah. I've heard a story that's what the who's the big billionaire guy? Not the Tesla guy, but the other one.
Oh, you're talking about the Amazon guy.
Yeah,
Bezos.
the Amazon guy. I heard that Bezos said that he's the richest man in the world a long time ago,
Yeah.
and then he went out and became it. So speaking this stuff into existence,
So many stories about that.
right? Like there
Yeah.
really is. So
Have you heard my Lamborghini story about that? I can tell it.
No, tell me.
This is interesting.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so I was an appraiser. I was making good money, but I was, putting it in rentals and things like that, and I wasn't really buying fancy things for myself. And but since I was 5 years old, I've always wanted a Lamborghini. In fact, my mom said when I was 5 years old, I came to her and I said, Mom, I want a Lamborghini. And she thought it was pasta, like linguine or something like that. So she's like, where do I get that? So at 5 years old, I'm saying that. It's been like a dream all my life. Look, there's two types of people in the world. There's Ferrari people and Lamborghini people. Never shall they come together. We're a Lamborghini family, okay? So if we wanted a Lamborghini, it's like, this is my dream, this is what I want. But I didn't have the money to get anything like that. We're in Miami. Me and my mom are in Miami. We're on Collins Avenue. There's like a lot of Lamborghinis on Collins Avenue, right? And this Lamborghini pulls up, and I'm in like a rental Kia. Beep, beep. It's bad. And I take out my phone. I take a picture of it. It's over there on my phone right now. You can see the date. You can see the front clip of this yellow Lamborghini. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just so amazing, so beautiful. Oh my God, just if one day, maybe. And I came back home from Miami, and over the next year, I spent a great deal of time kind of infatuating over Lamborghinis. I would look at them online, I would watch reviews, I got really deep into understanding them and, what they sell for and all this kind of stuff. And at the end of the year, I was able to pull off a deal that I bought a yellow Lamborghini Gallardo convertible. I actually bought and sold that car, and it didn't cost me a penny by the time it was all said and done. But here's the point. I bought the car. I got it home from the used car dealership, get the title like a month later, and I'm looking on the back of it. It's got this guy's name that was the previous owner, and it was, it wasn't like John Smith. It was a unique name. So I thought, I bet if I Google that, I could find him on Facebook. Sure enough, find him on Facebook. We start talking. We get on the phone. We're talking about the car or whatever. Where do you live? I live on Collins Avenue in Miami.
No way.
Now, wait a minute. There's a lot of Lamborghinis in Miami,
Yeah,
okay?
sure,
Come on now. This can't be. Well, guess what?
No way.
It was
That's
his
his
car.
car.
I didn't just manifest a Lamborghini. I
got that
manifested the Lamborghini that's on my phone over there.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
That's what do you call that? I mean, that's the universe. That's God.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, just
That's
whatever
just
you put
amazing.
your focus on and refuse to give up on, and you put so much energy and thought and time, like something comes out of that. There's,
Yep. I do think you can speak things into existence, and for years I've told people what I'm going to do before I'm doing it, and things that I probably am not capable of doing. I'll
Sure.
say I'm going to do, like, when I was young, I wanted to be a professional basketball player, and I was not nearly as good as many other basketball players, but I went to Europe and I did that. I became a professional basketball player, and that was just something that I spoke into existence.
Absolutely.
Mine was always a big truck.
Yeah.
So I told people I wanted a Hummer for a long time. Not a long time, but
Right.
probably like you, for about a year,
Yeah.
I'd say,
Yeah.
I'm going to have a Hummer.
Yeah.
And then one day I had an event and I was like, there's my Hummer money.
There it is.
There it is,
Absolutely.
They took that Hummer one day when I was going broke.
Another one of those lessons we were talking about earlier, right? Yeah.
That's right. That's funny. So,
But no, the things that I think, everything starts in your mind. This microphone started in someone's mind before it came into a CAD, and then it eventually went to a mechanical engineer, and they designed it, right? But somebody thought of it first. Somebody said, I'd like it to be kind of this shape, and I'd like to do these things. It all starts in our mind. Everything starts in our mind. Now, you got to put feet behind it,
Yeah.
right? You got to go out and do it.
absolutely.
You can't just sit in your house and go, you can't do that. But it does work. You have to just put some legs to it.
I'll do one right now, live on this. We'll
Okay.
be live because we're going to record it. Maybe Don will cut it out. But if he doesn't cut it out, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make $1 million on YouTube. Now, I make
Okay.
no money on YouTube right now.
Okay.
I'm a very small, with 1,700 people watching us.
Yeah.
1,700 people have ever subscribed. They don't
Right.
watch. We get a couple hundred people maybe if we're lucky.
Sure.
But I believe.
The smart ones.
I have believed now for a year, and I've told Don this, but really haven't told many other people. We're going to have a time in the future where we're going to shift how we make our money, and we're going to
Yes.
start making millions of dollars a year through the YouTube channel. Either that's through doing partnerships, which is probably the way that I expect it to go, but it
Yeah.
doesn't matter to me how it goes. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there to the world that this is my plan, and it's a ridiculous, unattainable
Yes.
idea.
As it should be.
Right? Like I'm 50 something years old. I'm not a YouTube guy, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. So there you go. If you watch this and it's 10 years from now, and I bet you that I'm making
I bet
$1
it
million.
is too. I bet it's less than 10 years. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens, but
No, you're putting the effort behind it. You're putting the intention and the focus on it. I mean, you're a smart guy. I don't see any way that you're not at that position. And I mean, it's kind of funny. I was sitting here thinking about it as you're talking. Like, can you think back like 20 years ago that you would have ever made a statement like that? That I'm going to make $1 million on some media platform.
Golly.
Like, you probably never in your wildest dreams when you're riding around in your Hummer
I can think
thought
back that I wouldn't have thought that a year ago
Right.
after I'd been doing YouTube for 6 or 8 months. It's just fun for me. It was,
Yeah.
I'm pretty consistent when I start to do stuff and start to say stuff. Like this year, my goal is to work out 156 times. I've worked out almost every day.
Nice.
I haven't for 20 years
Yeah.
prior, or maybe not that long. But for a long time, I told myself I don't like to work out, and so that was easy not to work out. I did really
Yeah.
well with not working out because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So this year, I decided I'm going to work out, and I set my goal at 156, and I'm there. Really, I've done more than every day because I'm doing 2
Yeah.
days sometimes if I can't sleep.
Right. Right.
So, and with the YouTube stuff, we're very consistent.
Yeah.
Don's a worker, I'm a worker. We're consistent with what we do. We continue to meet great people and have guests come on, and I think
Sure.
we're putting out interesting content. And maybe it'll catch on and we'll make some money. That would be great. So
It's funny, we're talking about like leveling up and thinking bigger. I have this thing that I say where I call it like plateaus, right? You climb a part of the mountain and then you're on a plateau, and then you climb a part of the mountain and you're on a plateau. When you're on those plateaus, that's the only time you can see further up the hill than
Yeah.
you could before. Like when I was down here, 11 years ago, I was on food stamps, right? When I was on food stamps, the idea that one day I'm going to buy like a high rise and renovate it and make $100 million was like ridiculous, right? Like I would never even, I couldn't think that big. I couldn't even dream that big at that point. At that point, my idea was I'm going to buy one apartment in that place, and maybe I can afford to live there. That was all I could think about. But now, like as you climb those different rungs and you get to each plateau, and you realize you're like, oh wow, there's this little thing, and it's not easy, and it's not any less of a stretch than it was when I was on food stamps to just be like, man, if I can make like $1,500 a month, I would be straight. You know, like I had that thought, right? Like if I could just pull down a solid $1,500 a month, like, you know, I'm doing some work for my rent, so I don't have to pay that. I've got a beat up car. I'm good. Man, I got food
Life
stamps.
would be good.
Oh, life is good if I could just do that. And so then, you know, I go, okay, well now I got 1,500, and how can I stretch? How can I stretch more? So whatever level you're at, whether you're at the food stamp level or you're just getting ready to close on your next high-rise deal, I mean, like, where can you stretch to next?
Yeah. That's a great way to think about it, right? And the stretch is what people ought to be thinking about. Like, how do we get to the next level? You said it, leveling up. I completely love that idea. So to get there, I assume you're like me. You've read some books. You follow some people. Let's talk about who mentors you. What books have inspired you? You know,
Sure.
What do you think of that when I say that?
Like once a year, I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think that's a classic. Think and Grow Rich is an amazing book. Napoleon Hill. I love all the stuff from. I'm really into Tony Robbins. I listen to a lot of the stuff that he talks about mindset and, you know, understanding how to grow a business and things of that nature. In fact, a couple years ago, I had a salesperson. I wanted to take them to this event. I thought it would help them. And, you know, isn't that funny? We're like, hey, you want to come to church with me? You need it. So I decided to take it to help them, you know, because they needed help. They got problems. And so I took them, and what I found out was like the first day I realized it was, you know, it was me.
You were meant to be there.
Yeah. I mean, great. I think they got something out of it too. But like, I had 3 people with me, and I paid for all the tickets. And within the first day, I felt like I had gained enough value that I had paid for everybody's with just my own value that I had gained. And so much of it is just understanding, like I used to kind of think of myself as a flag in the wind, right? Like, I don't know how I'm going to feel today because I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't know who's going to call and yell at me. I don't know what deal's going to fall apart. I don't know how I'm going to feel today. But now, like, I'm not that flag floating in the wind anymore. Like, I'm in control of that.
Yeah.
You know, and if I feel myself starting to get away, like, I know how to take control of those emotions and direct and pull the energy and go the other direction with it. So that was the huge takeaway that I'm like, oh my God, this is like changes everything.
You're not controlled by your emotions. You're in control of your emotions. You still have them.
Sure.
But you can decide, hey, I'm going to have a good day today.
Yeah.
We both have a friend. I think you know Jeff, and he does something called No Bad Days.
Right.
Where he decided at like 18 or 19 years old he wasn't going to have any more bad days. And he's had 2 bouts with leukemia.
Yeah.
And he's had all the problems that you and I have, and he finds a way every day to figure out how that day's a good day.
Sure.
It's really, really powerful stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like to just think that you can take control of your mind in a way that you have no bad days anymore.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I mean, there's some simple things. Let's talk about this. So, like, if you know, and this is kind of a Tony Robbins thing I'll give you. It's like, and he's gone all around the world, talked to millions of people, and it's pretty much the same in every culture, no matter what language they speak, no matter, you know, what they like to eat or what they like to worship. It's the same thing. And if you just say, okay, Robbie, I want you to think of yourself as like absolutely depressed, you know, just worried, stressed out. And now just imagine yourself in the most tense part of that. Like, you know, what is your body posture like? I mean, how is your breathing? You know, are you standing up straight like that when you're up depressed? No,
Absolutely
you kind of start to come down, don't you? And you can literally feel an energy shift from a position like this to where when you're coming down, you can, if you pay attention right here, you can actually feel it. But there's a negative energy that comes with kind of being in that crouched position. You know, we call it like laying in bed eating Cheetos, you know, right? It's like the world is going to crap and I'm laying in bed eating Cheetos. And the quickest way to get out of that is a physiological change.
I sat up like that because you were describing it, and I noticed how
you were doing it.
Saying I'm going like this. So then I popped up because I don't want to.
It brings
I don't want to be
level
drawn
down.
into the worst day of my life, right?
Absolutely.
So that's awesome.
Well, there's actually a Harvard study about that. They did the thing where, if you can imagine, I'm not going to do it, but you imagine the thing where you stand like Superman, like your chest is out, your hands are on your hips, you're like, you know, you're given the Superman stance, I call it, and you, right? Mm-hmm. There's actually a lowering of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and a raising of testosterone. Whether you're male or female doesn't matter.
Right.
You're getting a boost. So anytime I'm about to go into an interaction that I feel some kind of nervousness about or whatever, I'll literally stand there for just a minute and just really like focus myself. And it's amazing how much power you get for it. Another little interesting thing you do, you can actually take your hands and just kind of go like that, and you'll feel it inside you. You can feel like a little jolt of energy, and it's not from you touching. You can just feel it. So just having that and understanding how to control it and staying, in the moment with it, I guess.
Yeah. I love Tony Robbins. I've been to one event, but I've actually decided that I'm going to go later this year and take some people with me. I think the guy, he's just so good at getting to the core of a problem and then changing people's state and their mindset. Yeah. So anybody who is watching this and hasn't seen this guy, I don't know how you.
I'll tell you an interesting video.
You got to check him out.
So you were telling me that you watched the Netflix thing, I'm Not Your Guru.
Yeah, I just watched it last night.
Now, this was a couple years ago, so I can't give you like a YouTube person's name or anything, but you remember there's the guy he talks to that's kind of a wiry-looking, Caucasian guy, and he's saying he's going to maybe kill himself, this guy. And if you remember, as he's first talking to him, he actually makes fun of his shoes. You remember he's like, never seen no damn shoes as red as that or something, and everybody kind of laughs, and the guy laughs or whatever. There's a video online where not just that, but this guy actually breaks down the interactions that Tony is having with these people, and like the psychological moves he's using to get this person to look at stuff in another way. Powerful stuff. Yeah. Like basically what Tony's doing is he's seeing someone that's looping around in a pattern, and he's stopping it and making them create a new pattern. And that's the whole point, is just pattern recognition. Seeing when someone's trapped into one way of thinking and being like, oh, those are some dumb shoes you got. And they go, ah, and then all of a sudden their physiology's changed a little bit, their energy's changed, and then he changes the subject. Now next thing you know, you're in a different pattern. You go, how'd that happen? Yeah.
I remember a Tony Robbins story, and I don't remember if this was at the event that he told this or if I saw it online, but I think he told this story at the event. That didn't happen at the event, but he was teaching a guy to stop smoking. Yeah. And he was telling us that he would give the guy the cigarette, and he'd say, now light the cigarette, and he'd light the cigarette, and he'd immediately hand him another cigarette and say, light another cigarette. And then later on, he's got the guy smoking a pack of cigarettes, right? And finally hands him one more cigarette, and the guy pulls the cigarettes out, throws them down, and says, you can't make me smoke.
Right.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
So I just thought that this guy,
let me give you a jewel. Powerful. He tells this story about, so this is a long time ago, but he was contracted by the United States government, specifically the CIA, back in the 80s to do some things. Uh-huh. One of the things he did was there were these sharpshooters. He knew nothing. He said, I've never shot a gun in my life. But they had this school for sharpshooters. They were losing about 50% of the people at the end of the school because they just couldn't pass. And he went in there, changed people's mindsets about it. I think they ended up with like a 90% pass rate or something after that. But in that process of working with the government, he said there was a time where he went to kind of a CIA basement, and they had a lady come in, and when she left, she didn't believe that she was the Jane Doe or whoever that walked in there. She didn't believe that she even knew her own name anymore. So the point is there's a lot of things you can do to work in someone's mind, but you have to be doing it towards a positive end and everything like that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but isn't that creepy? That they can could you imagine if I sat down with you and at the end of this, you're like, Adon, I'm not totally sure my name's Robert anymore.
Yeah. Wow. No.
Powerful.
That kind of stuff actually scares me, right? Honestly, I watched it last night, the show, and I had this thought, was like, I don't know if I'd want to be standing in front of that guy, right, having a conversation with him, because I'm not sure that I want to share the things that these people are sharing. It's like, that's scary stuff, that he's got that power. Within 4 questions, he's got a girl who's there in this documentary saying that her big problem is that she doesn't treat her body well and she doesn't eat well. 4 questions later, she's saying that she's missing her daddy's love and that he was a drug addict. It's like,
where'd that come from?
And I'm crying watching this thing, going, what the hell just happened? And I had that thought, like, I don't know, that's some voodoo shit. I don't know if I want to stand in front of that guy and ever talk to him. I think to that point, I think it's each person needs to make their own decision, obviously, but
My experience in and around that organization is that, look, this guy, he doesn't need more money. He doesn't need to do one more seminar. He doesn't need to do one more video. He doesn't have to do any of that stuff. He cares about people. You know, when he does these seminars, we talked about how we stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. They'll very often stay up till 6 or 7 o'clock the next morning working on people's problems that they've been dealing with throughout the whole thing. He claims that out of like 30 years of dealing with people that have claimed they wanted to kill themselves, they keep in touch with all those people and they've never lost one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who else inspires you? And I'll just throw it out there that there's a couple of people. I like Patrick Bet-David on the internet. That guy is freaking phenomenal. I like the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy. You know, there's a few people that I follow, and I've never really spent money to go to them, but I think I'm going to start investing more in myself. What I like about myself is that I often have naturally many of the mindsets that they have. But anybody who watches the channel knows that I'm a big mindset guy. Like I talk about, if you say you can't, then you're certainly not able to. And the mind shift that I like to talk about is to go from I can't to how can I. And that's a question that I ask myself how could I do this? How can I do that? And I still have those mindsets where I believe that it's impossible. And if I realize it in the moment, I immediately switch to how can I. And then just because you can figure out how you can do something doesn't mean you should do something all the time. But anyways, we were talking about Chicken Littles. Maybe that brings you back to
I'll tell you about Chicken Littles. So Chicken Littles come into your life, and I mean, I used to have this thing in my life where I'm like, man, I've known these people for 20 years or whatever. Look, if you become a Chicken Little, you will become a chicken nugget. Like, we will fry you up and eat you. Like, if you're not adding value, if you're not motivating me to be a better human being and to be better to others, and if you're a negative influence in my life, you're going to get cut out. It's the bottom line. I mean, like, I'm going to still love you. I'll love you from a distance. Like, I'm here to make a difference around the people around me, and I don't need all that. So I'm going to fry up that chicken nugget and dip it in some sauce and eat it. I'm done with that.
I think that's great advice for anybody who's watching. We all have Chicken Littles in our lives, and we have to be careful with what we do with them. Like they're telling us from the time that we're born, you can't do this, you can't do that. You need money to make money. There are all kinds of things that all of us have experienced that just are flat out not true. And if you can switch that mindset and keep those people at bay, it's powerful stuff. We say it all the time. So, what else should we jump into here? Do you have any questions for me, maybe?
Sure. Yeah. So, tell me about your plans for 2023. What are like your high points of what you guys are wanting to do?
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. That's great. So we have spent the last 18 months or so. I've been telling people that I'm not buying things. Now, I'm not telling them that anymore because I'm going to start buying some things in 2023. And it's kind of a running joke around here. Robbie says he's not buying anything. He still buys more than everybody else does. And it's true. But I'm buying at a much slower pace over the last 18 months to 24 months. And we're going to invest in flips. We're going to buy some things to fix up and sell. We're going to invest in some things that we're going to wholesale. And we're going to believe that as the market is kind of sliding backwards a little bit, that there's going to be a creation of opportunity where there hasn't been for the last couple of years. And I think you can profit during this time as we're sort of pulling back, and that sometime 12, 18, 24 months from now, we're gonna reach a bottom, or we're gonna reach a plateau. And then I'm gonna buy some things that I'm gonna keep forever. So that's what I'm telling you today. That's what I expect to do as the next 18 to 24 months comes. I'm going to buy some things to sell for the next 12 months. 18 months from now, 24 months from now, I'm going to be buying lots and lots of stuff that I'm never going to sell. And I'm thinking, 18, 24 months from now, maybe I'm a year or two older, I'll own stuff that I buy at that point for the rest of my life. And that's sort of
Let me
my
add
plan.
something to that, just for the people that are listening, is like, when I bought that house, that condo, it was in the high rise. Remember how I said, I couldn't even imagine buying a condo almost. Well, it was in 2011. It was when the market was in the tank, and I paid $65K for it. And when I bought it, my mom, who's like love of my life and my real estate mentor, she said, you're paying way too much for that. And so, I just want everybody to keep that in mind. It's like, we talk about a bottom and we talk about all this stuff. It's like, ultimately, that property right now, it's probably 300K. I haven't looked at it recently. I sold it for 200, like 3 years later. Okay, so
Right.
it's probably much higher than that now. That was a long time ago. But ultimately, like, was I paying too much for it? No. But to people who were smart, it kind of felt like I might be. You know, it never. At least to me, even when we are in a real estate bottom, it's never like, oh man, and now it feels like everything's so cheap. It's still because of the recession and because of things, you know, people having less money, and I guess I had less money. It still seemed like that was a lot of money at the time. I realize now it wasn't. But,
Yeah.
you know, I'm saying there's a mind trick that goes on there where no matter what it is, we kind of always feel like we get conditioned into the idea that it's expensive. Well, no, all the other ones are 60 and 70 around there, man. I don't know, man, you're paying too much. That one's in bad condition, you know. You're getting all this stuff.
I think it's a good point that you're making. And even though I'm going to buy some things to flip this year, inevitably there's going to be some things that I'm going to buy that I'm going to keep.
Right.
Because I've trained myself now to not look back and not have kept something, right?
Yeah.
So I'm okay with buying something and overpaying for it because I believe if I own it for a really long time,
Yeah.
it's a home run.
Sure.
Every single time in my life, that would be true. That if I buy something at whatever the price is and I own it for certainly at 10 years, 5-10 years,
Right.
at some point in there, it's a home run.
Right.
Now,
If it's not, there's much bigger problems that you have to worry about.
That's
You're right.
exactly
Like, it's like
that's for sure. Yeah, and so I think if we can also buy these subject to things, that might be some of the stuff that I'm going to keep. Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I've got a house that I bought 20 years ago on a sub 2, and I eventually refinanced it, pulled all the money out of it. I've
Right.
had it as a rental property now for probably close to 20 years. I lost it to the foreclosure sale, but I happened to be going through it and getting back on my feet, and so I was at the foreclosure sale. I lost it for $250,000, but I
Right.
bought it for $24,000, and I still own the house today.
Yeah.
I originally bought it subject to a mortgage at like 120 grand or something.
Right.
Now the house is worth about $380,000.
Yeah.
And it's a great rental property. I don't know why I tell the story, other than I just think it's pretty cool that I was at
Yeah.
the foreclosure sale to buy my house back. One guy bid against me, and I looked at him. I said, "You know, that's my house." And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Robbie. I'm not going to." I'm like, so anyway, buying things, every market,
Yeah, I'm super
keeping 'em-
bullish
keeping
on
'em
buying
for a really long
things.
time is brilliant.
Yes. I heard it. It may have even been on you're talking about Patrick's show. It may have even been on Patrick's show. I heard this, but somewhere just recently. They said, they say you can't time the market, right? But in real estate, you can. The way you time the market in real estate is you buy it whenever you want to buy it, and then you just hold it till it's worth more. And I know that sounds corny,
That's right,
but
though.
and that and the trick is that you just want to make sure that you're able to sustain it during that time, right? So like we talked about before, you want to have either, you want to have multiple income strategies for it so that if one thing goes sideways, maybe you got an Airbnb and then they come in and say, no more Airbnbs here,
Yeah.
So what do you do now, right? So
Long-term rent it.
But if you've got all these multiple strategies and they all work and you cash flow above what your PITI is going out, I mean, it's a great deal. I will say this, like, as much of a fan as I am of like sub 2 and seller finance and all that kind of stuff, there was a guy who was a home investor guy, he's a mentor of mine, a really great guy named John Holman. And John told me this first time I ever did a sub 2 deal. He said, "Jason, do you know how you hug a porcupine?" I said, "How's that?" He said, "Very carefully." And so you want to step into seller finance deals carefully. You want to make sure you have somebody look at the paperwork. You want to make sure you're covering your bases with, insurance and all these kind of things. You want to hug it very carefully.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to make income and to make income long term.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, so I just remembered we're doing a deal together.
We are.
Well, we should probably talk about that, right?
Okay.
You brought a deal to my attention. You were in Atlanta, and you told me about something, and I said, that sounds pretty damn good.
Right.
And we went and looked at it together.
Yeah.
We walked through it, and it was a wreck.
Yeah.
Right? And I knew as we were walking through it, like, I'm buying this damn thing. And I'm thinking to myself, I hope Jason's on board, because I know at the end of the day here,
Right.
I'm buying this
Yeah,
place, right?
you're going to
Like,
buy it and make money, and
yeah.
I'm going to be mad.
Yeah, I'm walking through it, and I'm kind of beating it up. I mean,
Right.
Oh, this looks really bad. Oh, it's and then I'm telling the realtor, oh, it'll never be worth that. But
Sure.
I mean, the whole time I'm thinking, I'm buying this. It's one of those things where I kind of knew before I got out of the car. I'm looking at it, going, that thing's 18,000 square feet, and it looks bigger than that to me.
Just like had opportunity written on the front
really
of it.
did.
It really
and
did.
it's like, we're investing on Juan Ponce de Leon from like the Looking Glass into Miramar.
Right.
And this is just on the other side of the Looking Glass. So I'm like,
yeah.
I think I'm investing on Juan Ponce de Leon from this building to Miramar.
Sure, sure. And I mean, again, multiple strategies, right? So we're looking at this and we're going, okay, maybe we can make this into fancy apartments, or maybe we could turn it into short-term rental, or maybe we could even do like lower end kind of Section 8 stuff. What about the bottom? How can we turn those into like great commercial spaces that could be well utilized and serve the community and stuff?
Yeah.
It's cool. Like,
and you sent me like right after that, so we talked about it. We're like, all right, we'll make an offer on it.
Yeah.
I'm making the offer, and then you're like, oh, you're making the offer. Yeah, okay, I'm in. And then you sent
I got to catch up. You're like running away from me.
Yeah, and then you sent me a list. You said, all right, so if we buy it for this, we can do it this way, and this way. And I'm reading through all of the ways that you got, and I'm like, damn, well, they all make money. Like,
right.
We can dumb it down, and we can make a ton of money. We can go in between.
Yes.
We can make a ton of money. We can do it as a full-on hotel. We can make a ton of money.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, so it's one of those no-brainers, and I'm really excited to be in business with you. And I think this will be the first one that we'll do, and we'll do a bunch of them.
It'll be the first of many, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's like you had to beat me to death to get me to do the right thing, and I finally am like, okay, Robbie, we're gonna do this, and I know it's the right thing the whole time. And when I met you 2 years ago, I knew you were a great guy, and we should be doing business together. But it's easy; we can get into head junk, right? Well, no, I'm focusing on this up here. I got all this stuff going on. That stuff's gonna keep going on.
Yeah.
Just keep going it. And I just know that there's so many opportunities available that we take it, we pick the opportunity we think we have the best. We make multiple ways that we can get in and out of it, and I mean, you're just hedging your risk every way you can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's in an up and coming part of the neighborhood. I think
it's coming down that road for sure.
Coming down that road, you can see other things being renovated around it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Again, we could probably buy it, do nothing with it for 5 years, and sell it for a ton of money 5 years from now, right? Like it's just that's not what we're going to do, but it's nice that that's a viable strategy.
Yeah.
That's kind of
you had to coin a name for that. It's like the lazy man's way to real estate. Just buy it and go to sleep.
Yeah, buy it and just board it up, hold on to it for a whole long time, and
well, they say that's the best thing an investor can do is buy something and then die. Right, because then they never sell it, right? So it like goes to their family and it's worth a lot more.
That creates generational wealth if
Yeah.
you can convince your children to not sell everything the second that you die. Which
Sure.
that's for those of us that have children, that's a real honest possibility, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know that if it's my son, he probably will try to find a way to keep it.
Oh yeah.
My daughter's going to be like calling a realtor. That day she'll be like.
They're like, is he cold?
Dad
Is he
left
cold
me
yet?
65 rental properties.
Huh.
That's 65 problems.
Yeah.
I need them gone. You know, so hopefully between now and then she's gonna figure it out too. We'll see.
It only took me like 30 plus years to realize my mom was right. So
Yeah. I think
mean,
we as children we all go through that, right? We don't realize mom and dad are right until years.
Well, there was no
later.
YouTube. There was no like, oh, let's get on TikTok and find out about real estate. It was like, no, go over here and read the Barney Fletcher real estate school stuff. That's what we had. Remember Barney Fletcher? Is that
no?
You're not, his name is not ringing a bell to you.
I don't know Barney.
People on this are going to know who Barney Fletcher is.
All right, if you know Barney Fletcher, leave a comment.
Barney Fletcher was like the real estate agent, broker, like sales training guy. He was kind of the Zig Ziglar of real estate. Barney Fletcher, yeah. I remember she used to have all these like packs of tapes and stuff, and we would listen to them in the car. Can you imagine being 5 years old listening to like real estate sales tapes? It was fantastic.
Well, my kids.
I'm so short.
I'll tell you what,
McDonald's.
my kids do imagine it, right?
Okay.
Like my daughter, who I'm teasing about, would sell everything. She doesn't even like to ride with me, like to and from church, because she knows that if she's in the car on the way home, we're likely not to make it home, right?
Right.
Like
You're gonna go
I'm just
somewhere.
gonna stop one time to look at this,
Right.
and then it's gonna lead into something else, and then it's gonna be 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
We've looked at 15 pieces of real estate, and we've made 7 offers, and she's going, Dad. I had friends come over 3 hours ago.
Can you please stop?
Can you take me home now?
You made me ride a bike home yesterday, so I mean,
Yeah, so we could go look at another disaster.
so you go look at another property.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not only $1 million on YouTube, $2 million a year in real estate too.
There you go.
Well, I mean, I'm certain of that, right? Like,
Yeah.
If you're
generated from
getting this
YouTube.
and Don's
Yeah.
saying we're not just going to make $1 million on YouTube, which
This
we
is
want to
in
do
real
in the
estate.
future, we've never done before. He's saying we're going to make $1 million in real estate. Well, absolutely.
What is the likelihood that you'll make $1 million if you don't put that in intention and focus? I can tell you the likelihood:
It's
0%.
Absolutely
maybe
zero.
less than 0%. Maybe you go bankrupt. But like intention and focus, like okay, fine. Do the what is it? Les. God, that's a guy that inspires me. Les Brown. You remember Les Brown?
do
What
know
he
Les.
said? Les Brown says, "Look, what you do is you shoot for the stars, and if you miss, you're still by
You're
the
gonna
moon."
hit the moon.
Yeah.
That's right. So we've been going a long time. We're down to one camera.
Yeah.
We're going to make $1 million on YouTube. And you guys can help us by hitting the like.
Yeah.
And subscribe if you haven't. Jason, tell us how we can get a hold of you. We'll put it in the description.
For sure,
but,
for sure.
Let
So,
everybody know.
Our company's Property Problem Solvers. We're based out of Atlanta, but we love Puerto Rico, and I've been down here for about 2 years, and we're starting to build up this business. I don't do a lot of social, but I'm on Instagram at helicopterpilotatl. It's because I like to fly helicopters. So at helicopterpilotatl, I'll be glad to help you with if you have any questions or thoughts or any way that you want to work with us or partner with us, get in touch.
Yeah, and if you have anybody who's in trouble with a piece of real estate anywhere in Georgia,
Yeah.
you really do need to get a hold of Jason, and he is going to try and help your family
Sure.
members, your friends, whoever they are. So give
Yeah.
him a plug.
We
Show
focus
people-
in Georgia, but I mean, anywhere in the U.S. McKenna, his son called me 6 months ago, and we helped him get rid of a house. So
Yeah.
we can we don't focus in other areas, but we can help people get rid of houses in other areas. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one. God bless everybody.
Take care.